but something inside me was always steering left. What father picks a few just to leave the rest? I heard a voice inside my head, it disagreed. So if that wasn't God, if that wasn't God, it was me. Thank God it was me. Thank God it was me. If it was God, I don't have to worry. He knows why I left when I ran in a hurry. So either way I choose, I'm not wasting my life, 'cause the voice in my head has always been right. All the Sundays I worried I'd disappoint my mom, 'cause I never understood a type of love being wrong. But something inside me was always steering left. No father, just to leave the rest. Yeah.
Well, welcome to Gracepointe. We're so glad that you are with us today. No matter who you are, how you exist in the world, who you love, you are welcome. You're more than welcome. You are celebrated here at Gracepointe. Will y'all stand with us? We've got a few songs we want you to sing with us. God is for us. God is with us. God is on our side. Amen? Amen. Here we go. Maker of eternity, right here and now. Creator of all that we see, with us somehow. Oh, I cannot explain such mysteries. Who could ever know what this all means? The God of the universe, all around. Yeah, that's right. Come on, sing it. God is with us, God is for us, God is on our side. All of us, no matter who you are, let all who are here join the chorus. God is on our side. Everything is gonna be alright. God is on our side. Yeah, we believe that. Come on, let's sing. Giver of every breath, breathing in us. The heartbeat of life itself, waking us up. I cannot explain such mysteries. Who could ever know what this all means? The visible image of God is our love. Yeah, that's right. Come on. Oh, God is with us. God is for us. God is on our side. Let all who are here join the chorus. God is on our side. Everything is gonna be alright. God is on our side. All of creation is joining the sound. Let liberation explode from the ground. Lift up your voice, make it loud. Come on, let's sing it. God is with you. God is with me. God is on our side.
God is on our side.
Maybe look up at somebody, say this.
God is with you.
God is with me. God is on our side.
God is on our side.
Oh, now you know it. Come on, sing. God is with you. God is with you. God is with me.
God is with me.
Oh, God is on our side. One more time. God is with you. God is with you. Yeah. God is with me. Yeah. Oh, God is on our side. Yeah. God is with us. God is for us. God is on our side. Let all who will hear join the chorus. God is on our side. Everything is gonna be alright. God is on our side. Oh yeah. God is on our side. God is not against us. He's for us. God is on our side. Yes, yes, yes. We believe that about every single person here and outside these walls as well. What we'd love for you to do is find somebody, talk to them, have a conversation, meet and greet, hug a neck if you're comfortable with that. And we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. We love you. You're beautiful.
Welcome to Gracepointe, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are watching. Thank you for being with us today. Welcome to those of you who found us at Pride yesterday. We had probably 50 to 60 or like 75 people marching with us, and it was a great day all day long. I just have one thing to tell you, and that is if you're new here or if you haven't done so already, just scan the QR code that's up on the screen here or on your chairs, and you can fill out our Connect card, and that's where you can sign up for our newsletter. The newsletter goes out weekly on Fridays, and that will have the most up-to-date information about all that we have going on here. If you want to be a part of financially sustaining the work that we do here, you can do so in multiple ways. You can text 84321, any dollar amount. You can go to gracepointe.net/give. You can scan the QR code, or you can Venmo us at GracepointeTN. And just remember that Gracepointe has an E on the end. Thanks.
Thank you, Emily. Good morning, everybody. If we've not met, my name's Josh. I'm the lead pastor here. We are thrilled you're with us today. Happy Pride. If you are Gracepointe kids, so kindergarten through 5th grade, it is now time to go to your area. I didn't know where to go with it, so go there. This is the way. And as they're embarking on their journey, we're going to celebrate communion today. It's let's just watch them all first. How cute! How cute! We're going to celebrate communion together today. Thanks to Grace and Kat, we have rainbow communion wafers. If you're concerned, they are completely vegan. The only thing in them is salt and dye, they said. So they taste just like I just described them also. But here's the thing. In churches all over the world today, a pastor or someone is going to get up and they're going to talk about communion, and they are going to give the people in the room a list of reasons why they should not participate, or a list of reasons why they cannot participate. And at Gracepointe, what we want you to know is the only reason you should sit this one out is if you just want to sit this one out. You are welcome, invited, and included if you would like to celebrate communion. Before the church turned communion into a ritual and then built a wall around it to keep people out, it started in the meal practice of Jesus, which included every single person at the table. So whether you are here today and you haven't been to church in 30 years and you're like, should I do it? Yeah. You should, if you want to. If you've ever been refused communion, that was wrong. The sin wasn't with you, it was with those who refused you. So today we're going to read this liturgy we read, inviting each other to the table every time, and then as the elements come by, feel free to get them and take them immediately. Feel free to hold on to them for a minute, whatever you need today. But we're going to read this liturgy together, inviting us all to participate. Here we go. Come to this table, you who have much faith and you who struggle with believing, you who have been here often and you who have come for the first time, you who are at peace and you who feel despair. We are all part of the human family, and there is a place for us here. Christ invites everyone to the table. May this bread and wine unite us all. Amen.
Continue passing the elements. As you are able, if you want, we'd love for you to join in this reimagined, reclaimed hymn that a beautiful Nashville artist shared with us last week. If y'all want to stand when you're able, you've taken it. Take it at your own speed. Process whatever you need to do, and then we'll sing all this together.
Lost in utter darkness, I was trapped in toxic shame. I was bound by my religion till I chose to break away. Now I'm finding my true colors. For the first time I feel free. Now I'm learning self-compassion as I heal. I'm finding peace.
So beautiful. Thank you so much. You can be seated. So we have a few special guests with us today who you're just gonna love every single person who's with us. This one is a dear friend, recording artist. He's had a stint in the CCM world. You know, y'all will definitely know who he is. He is doing music now that is just so powerful and important. He has written a song. I'll let him explain it, but I just want to set him up because y'all are going to love it, and you're going to watch his video that is just out. But please welcome Derek Webb.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I'm so grateful to Josh and Ricky for including me this morning because, as I've heard Ricky say, that Pride weekend is like Gracepointe's Easter, and so it's a lot of resurrection happening in this room. So, anyways, so grateful to be included, and so we have this video that we're going to show, and it's for a song that I wrote and put out just kind of recently, and I wrote the song, just a quick context, for a very, very dear friend and somebody who I love a lot who came out to me a couple of years ago, and I wrote this song as my response. This was just my response to them, and I thought, knowing them as I do, that it might benefit them to hear that more than one time, so I wrote it as a song they could bring with them. And the video, however, so that's the song, and maybe you'll think about that as you hear it. The video was actually not totally my idea. I've got this great friend of Gracepointe, fabulous San Diego-based drag queen whose name is Flamey Grant, best drag name of all time. And Flamey had this idea to do this video, which we're gonna show you. But what it really comes down to, I mean, the reason that I love Gracepointe, the reason I love this community, is because I've always thought that Gracepointe is consistently in the same kind of trouble that I believe Jesus would be in, standing where Jesus would be, which is where you had kind of arrogant church people, judgmental church people. Jesus was on the side, he was being called by the sins of the complicated people of society that he spent his life living with and loving, and if that's not allyship, I don't know what is. And so the quote at the beginning of this video was by I heard from a guy named Stan Mitchell, who is a spiritual father to this community, and he said that if you claim to be somebody's ally and you are not being hit by the stones thrown at them, then you are not standing close enough. And that's certainly what Gracepointe believes. And anyway, so here's the song is called Boys Will Be Girls. Here's the video, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
Jesus loved and spent his life with those who were abandoned by proud and fearful men. So if a church won't celebrate and love you, then believe in lies that can't save you or them, 'cause you're so beautiful.
I think somewhere Governor Bill Lee just felt a disturbance in the force. And I hope he sees it. Yeah. What a day, y'all. What a day. I am so excited to have a dear friend with me this morning. Mike Maishiro is here. Mike, will you come on up? Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So before we jump in, because I know we have a lot to talk about, you posted something on Instagram yesterday, and I just want to pull it up. Because one of the things I see a lot during the month of June, and I'm sure everybody sees it, are either some person with a sign at the parade or somebody on social media saying, God is against pride. How many of you have seen that before? Yeah, and it's really a failure on their part to discern the difference between ego and the celebration of who someone is. And Mike said this yesterday on Instagram. You should follow him, by the way. He's causing all kinds of trouble on the internet. After my own heart. Here's what Mike said. Pride isn't about coercing anyone to be anything. Pride is about protesting the notion that anyone gets to coerce us to be anything.
That's good. I like that.
That'll preach. That'll preach. Could you just talk a little bit about what prompted that? I mean, It's beautiful.
Yeah. So I went to the Pride Festival, the parade, and then the festival yesterday, and just like go, go, go. And I sat down. And I was like, I just want to process and like feel this. This is pride. Like, what am I feeling? What am I experiencing? And so I just started hashing out some thoughts. And with the stuff I put on social media, I get a lot of evangelical hate. People saying a lot of crazy stuff. And one of the things they tend to get after is like, pride is a sin. It's Satan's first sin. And I'm like, what? It's absurd. And I was like, actually, what's going on here is the sin. What you're doing, what you're saying, the way you're coming at us is so gross. And so that just kind of came up as a byproduct of my process and thought is like, the way the world is treating the queer community and the way they continue to demonize and vilify us, mischaracterize us, that's the coercive arrogance that is the problem. Pride, for being who we are, is the divine within us, saying yes to itself.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things I find is that often the very thing that our evangelical siblings are going on and on about and accusing other people of, they're doing and going to jail for. It seems like they should clean up their house before they worry about anybody else's.
Agreed. It'd be really nice.
So I met Mike, I can't remember how long it's been, but we became fast friends. I didn't think we would, though. So here's why. When I first met Mike, Stan Mitchell introduced us. It was when we were at 3rd and Lindsley. It was on a Sunday morning. It was back by the bar. We met and like, hey, we should get lunch sometime. And then we got lunch. And Mike has this ability, and I don't know if he does it with everybody, but it definitely happens with me, where he just has this welcoming presence that you just say everything you think. without restraint or thinking like, because I didn't know Mike, and I just knew he was in the process, and I didn't know how far along in his deconstruction process he was or where he was. So we sat down, we had salads for lunch. It was a really good salad, I remember that.
Rico, good place, yeah.
It was very good. And so he asked something about Jesus. It was something about Christmas, and I just went, bleh, everything I thought about it. Non-literal, all this stuff. And as I'm talking, I'm watching Mike, like, slowly backing away from the table, and I was like, oh no, too much too quick. I am never going to see this person again. We'll be lucky if he finishes his salad. It's exactly what I thought. And it turns out I did see you again many times, and now we're here together.
Yeah.
So
I actually ended up posting at one point, and you were like, hey, like, Josh ruined Christmas for me. Like, just, how many of you in this room, Josh ruined Christmas for you? Yeah,
Good,
it was
good.
horrible.
You're welcome.
There's no coming back
Happy
from
holidays.
that. So yeah, thank you for your ministry.
Yeah,
Josh.
it was. it was on Instagram, and I was scrolling, and I saw Mike had said something that I said in that conversation. Like, and I texted him. I was like, Mike, look, you're doing it, and it was just beautiful.
Yeah.
So, can you just tell everybody? Lots of people here know who you are. They've interacted with you, but could you just tell us a little bit about, your story, where you came from? Did you grow up religiously? Was it conservative? Like what?
Yeah. I was 4 when I was taken to a Baptist church for the first time. Went to Sunday school, and for the first time in my life, I was told about sin and hell and crucifixion and atonement and forgiveness and eternity. And
On day one.
Day one. Brand new.
So you're used to having people just dump everything they think on you.
Just a regular Sunday morning. It was a lot of information to process all at once at 4. And then at the end of this horrifying delivery, this Sunday school teacher was like, now raise your hand if you want to receive Jesus in your heart. And I was like, did we hear what she just told us? I thought Jesus was like a little ghost that was going to come live inside of my heart and like keep me from going to hell. And I was like, I'll take the ghost. I don't want to do that. And it was terrifying, and that was my induction into the Baptist denomination.
I grew up Baptist too.
I'm sorry.
They kicked me out. So at 4 years old, your first experience is to go into a church and to be told how bad you are, essentially, as a 4-year-old. Like, had you armed robbery or anything at that point?
No, I'd had a bad thought before, which made me liable. I put Jesus on the cross because I didn't like somebody at one point, or maybe I lied to my parents at one point. I was horrible.
Yeah, and this whole idea that one sin, no matter what sin it was,
yeah.
if you just committed one, you were for eternity.
Damnable.
At 4 years old.
Yeah.
That's what you're getting.
Yes.
So where did you go from there? You enter into the Baptist world.
Yeah.
Was it sort of just, did you stay there for a while?
Yeah, I got put into private school, so literally the next day I'm at school hearing all this from other adults. And I'm like, oh God, and it just kept going, and there was more to it, and there were layers of rules and restrictions, and something that I got taught at a very young age, which became very relevant to my journey, was that gay people were some of the worst. They were abominations. They would not inherit the kingdom. They were perverts. They were akin to murderers and child molesters, right? They're the reason God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. And then I was 10 when I discovered for the first time that the word we have in our culture to describe people like me was gay. And I was like, oh crap, I'm gay. And so I got to intentionally choose to go hard into the closet, like intentionally, and as deeply as I could, as far away from everyone as I could, because I was what we weren't supposed to be. And there was no way, I knew at that age, there's nothing I could do to change this. I didn't try to be this way. I have no way out of this. I'll be like this for the rest of my life. I knew that, because it had been my experience as long as I was conscious. But anyway, so I just had to like go deeply away from everyone, and I was in Baptist Christianity until I was 18, and I want to acknowledge, like, a lot of different people in this room have different thoughts and ideas and experiences and beliefs about God, and I just want you to know, like, I fully celebrate your version of God. I don't know who and what God is. I can't prove that to anybody. I have my ideas, right, and my convictions. When I was 18, in my language, I met God for the first time, and I didn't know that you could experience God. Like, I'd studied God my whole life, but all of a sudden, God was this person that I experienced, like, talking to me.
You know, that's interesting. Growing up Baptist, you're taught a lot of stories in the Bible about people who experience God, but then you are explicitly told not to trust any of your experiences.
Right.
Which is really, really confusing, right? Like, look, you need to be like Moses. Well, Moses talked to a flaming bush. Like, is that not cool? Can you not be God there? So it's interesting that it's because it is a surprise when you find out they're like this reality interacts. How did you process that?
I cried a lot. And didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't know who to talk to. And I did try to talk to some friends, and they all affirmed that this was a very unique experience that they had never had. And I'm like, that just made me feel even more alone. 8 months later, I had another experience. It's probably one of the more profound experiences like this that I'd had. And in that exchange, God explicitly told me that they wanted me to be gay. And that was really jarring. I was like, God's not allowed to say that to me. Like,
so you had this sense like that God wants this for my life.
Yeah, like deep, visceral acknowledgement, like, you are supposed to be like this. I want you like this. And I was like, nobody else wants me like this. So my pastors, my parents, my family, my church, my community, everyone that I considered community was saying the opposite of what I was experiencing from God. So I didn't tell anybody about this because I knew I would be burned at the stake, right? They'd get rid of me like I was illegal. So I felt for a long time like an illegal immigrant in Christianity because I was gay. I was the thing that I wasn't supposed to be, and God loved me like that, but no one around me did. No one was allowed to either, right? Like I was so unsafe, and the message was so clear and continuous that like I just had to like buckle down and survive. So I was in that world until I was 32, which was like a little under 4 years ago now.
Almost 30 years that you're carrying around.
Yeah, I was just a walking contradiction.
Yeah. So you had this experience. Is this sort of the moment you come to terms with this is who I am because this is who God made me to be?
Yeah, I'd had multiple, so like what I just described, that happened probably 8 times over the next 14 years. And it just continuously was like the voice of God affirming me as a gay person. And it just kept getting more and more threatening because I was in public professional Christian ministry.
I was gonna say, yeah, you're a pastor.
At Bethel Church, yeah. And so that was a doozy. Like, I was just stacking up things I would lose if I were to finally choose to be honest with myself about everything I was experiencing in me and from God. And then one day...
But just, if you don't know Bethel, they are...
What is the end of that sentence, John?
Let me pray on it. They are kind of hatefully non-affirming,
yes,
to say the least.
Oh, yeah.
So you're in that environment where this is who you are. It's who God made you to be. And you're operating and doing ministry in an environment where they are regularly creating harm to the queer community and to you.
Yeah. I developed skills. I just was professionally cosplaying as a straight man and like getting away with it. And because I was like kissing the ring and bowing to the right leaders, like I got to keep playing. And it eventually got to a point where I had to accept that I was actually dehumanizing myself. Like I had become my greatest abuser. Because like I learned and I was led to think and relate to myself and see myself like that from outside of myself, but eventually like I accepted it, right? And I partnered with it and I embraced it and I treated myself like that. And it wasn't until I started coming out that I started realizing what I was doing to me. It wasn't just other people anymore. It was like, I'm doing this. I'm dehumanizing myself. I'm marginalizing myself. And so I had to stop. Like, I can't abuse this little boy that God entrusted to me to take care of. I've been abusing him for years, and he doesn't deserve this, and it's not okay. And so my sense of justice and integrity, like, I had to change. And so I started the really painful, devastating process of coming out, and sure enough, Bethel responded exactly like I knew they would, and I had to run. So I ran to Stan.
So in that process, you essentially, they took your ministry ability away, right? Like,
Yeah,
this is what they thought they did.
Yeah, the stages, the platforms that I had access to and all that, like, gone, yeah.
And so I remember when you came out, and I remember the conversations that led up to it, and you did this series of posts that were so thoughtful and beautiful. What did you find in the process? So it's a painful process.
Yeah.
What were the beautiful parts of it?
Yeah, once I got past all the trauma crying and my body just purging years of repression and self-hatred, You didn't ask me this in the first service.
I'm following the
That's
spirit.
great. I
Mike.
love it.
I'm following the ghost.
That ghost will make you gay. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Only if you experience it while drinking a Bud Light. I believe that's when it happens, I think. It would be awesome if we just cracked one open right now and just started. Forgot the cooler.
Yeah, I discovered along that, it was a process, and the byproduct of humanizing myself in my own eyes, I finally started getting to be at home in my own skin for the first time in like ways I didn't know I wasn't experiencing. Like I didn't know what I was missing out on, or I didn't know that I wasn't breathing fully, that I wasn't being seen clearly, that I wasn't being heard, that even if I spoke, no one could hear me because I was choking my own voice before it came out. Like I didn't know any of that. And so on the other side of the coming out experience, like I was filling out this body and I was like experiencing my emotions and like touching the pain and the love in a depth that I had shielded myself from my whole life. And so yeah, there was a lot of rejection and judgment and drama, but there was also a lot of liberty and alignment and embodiment and freedom. And there was nothing that I had given up that was worth getting to come alive like that and getting to be fully human. It was amazing. Yeah, thank you.
So I know coming out and affirming yourself was a big part of your deconstruction process.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, as we've learned, it wasn't the only part.
No.
What were what were some of the first things that when you started pulling at the thread, it led you down the rabbit hole?
Yeah, so the worldview I came from that was largely impacted by the white evangelical upbringing I was raised with was so dehumanizing and I didn't understand that. But then I started realizing if I'm loved and affirmed the way I am, and I'm seeing the kind of hate I'm getting from people, the rejection, the judgment, the misunderstanding, I started having to listen, like develop ears in a sense and an ability to listen to women, to people of color, to trans people. Like all of a sudden those people groups started sounding different to me and I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing to these people? And I had to like find voices from those communities because I was not allowed to listen to them in the world I came from. They were demonized, they were led by the devil, they were gonna lead me astray, they were gonna, whatever, right? So I started hunting voices and people like this who were embodying something different and like listening to them and hearing their pain and their perspective. And because of what I went through, I could hear it and I'm like, I believe you. That's so real. We do that. God, and I had been part of it. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. There's a lot of crying and like sorrow and apologizing. But that was like some of the first, like the misogyny, the patriarchy, the racism built into evangelicalism. Like at this point, I'm like, evangelicalism is a wound.
Yeah.
And I just had to recover and like get out of that. Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking to watch our evangelical siblings double down, as the SBC has done with their misogyny over the last month. It's tragic and it's harmful and it's creating deeper and deeper wounds in people. So where are you now?
I don't know, Josh. Stop asking me that. The list of what I don't believe anymore is longer than than the answer. But where I am now, like I believe that God is real. I believe God is a person. I can't prove that, but in my experience of the divine, I'm convinced that God is a person, and I'm not beholden to that, but that's my experience. And I believe that divine love exists, that it's real. It's not just a nice idea. Like at the core, the fabric of our reality is this unconditional altruistic love that's available, that is moving toward all of us, and we can be moved by it, and it transforms. Like it doesn't just rescue and heal and redeem us, it transforms us, it changes us, and I am there. And so the reason I'm still in the space that I'm in doing the work that I'm doing is like, there's love here to be had, and so many of us have missed it and have not been able to understand it, receive it, because of the ways we were told we weren't worthy. We don't belong, we don't get to have it, and that's not true. And there's so many little kids out there, little Mikes being raised in hostile environments that dehumanize them before they even know how to advocate for themselves. They're being abused. Like I think that's actually appropriate, the word. because they have no advocacy, they have no defender, they are in spaces that dehumanize them from the get-go. And I want them to have a chance to like hear something else. If I had heard someone like me saying things I'm saying now, when I was a kid, I might have had a shot at something earlier, something different, you know? And I'm like, so like, I see humans, I see kids, and I'm like, God, they deserve better than what I got, you know? Yeah. So I think that's where I am.
You still use the word Christian?
Yes, I do. On purpose.
This is a safe place.
Thank you.
You can be
I do. I identify as Christian, and I've actually processed with Josh a bit about this. Identifying as Christian is actually not a great move for me, especially in the space that I work in. Like, it's a big negative identifier. But I hold it because I want to make sure these kids I'm talking about recognize that I'm from the same family and that I'm saying something different about them. Like, I have the same family name. I came from the same place. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I think I'm holding that title because it is my, like Rachel Held Evans would say, like, it's my native tongue, right? It's the way I was raised and how I was taught all these profound things about the world I'm in. So there's that component, but then also I mostly just like want it to be a signifier to the people who need it. Like, let's talk about Christianity. There's a different version of this, and you get to be fully human in it, you know?
Yeah, I'm going to say this, and it may sound dramatic, and I don't mean it dramatically, but you know, this idea that in Jesus' crucifixion, that he's bearing sort of the weight of the wrath of the empire to help other people avoid the wrath of the empire, right? I see a similar spirit in the way you approach social media. How many of you follow Mike on Instagram? What are the rest of you doing?
Thank you.
You should follow Mike on Instagram. But I regularly see people come at Mike with just the worst, most hateful, vile, bigoted, awful stuff. And it's like, I see you being willing to take that on yourself, because if I imagine this is probably what you think. If they're coming after me, maybe they're not coming after someone else.
Yeah, that, and I want the kids who this would be directed at if they were honest, dang it, I want them to see, like, look, you can take this and live. This is not the end. There is life on the other side of these assholes.
Yeah. So, what are you and Jesus up to? How's that? Like, what do you think about Jesus?
Yeah. Listen, Jesus was the last thing that I wanted to touch in my deconstruction process, right? Because Jesus is precious, the narrative around Jesus, what he means to all this. I was like, this is so much. But eventually, and thanks to people like Josh, God, I had to face, like, actually, I think you've been one of the most influential people in the way that I've deconstructed Jesus.
Here's that money I told you.
Yeah, totally.
Give you for saying that.
The Jesus I was taught in the white evangelical world I was raised in is not the Jesus that I see in the Bible today. Like, he's not it.
That's right.
That's not the Jesus that I understand to be God, like, to be speaking on behalf of and representing God to our culture. Like, that wasn't him. And so I actually had to, like, just continue to let go of things that were attached to Jesus. And it was just like a lost period for a while, which was disorienting because I was raised evangelical. So that was a lot. But now, fascinatingly enough, like, Josh wrote a book called Bible Stories for Grown-Ups. If you haven't gotten one, there's a copy in the back you can get today. Being held up right now, so yeah, there you go. And the last 3 chapters of that book, Josh is going through, like, some New Testament stories of Jesus, and he's poking at stuff I've literally never seen about Jesus in my life. And now I can't unsee it, and I'm like, what do I do with this? And I'm
asking the same question.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what to do with it. It challenges the heck out of me.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah. It touches, like, the way that I experience economics and participate. It's touching my politics, like, at layers and in depths that I've never imagined before. It's really challenging, but it's also, like, really inspiring to take up this practice that I think we've talked about of exercising a muscle that we would probably call, like, divine imagination, right? Like, genuinely giving yourself to considering, what could this look like? What could we do with this place? What are we actually capable of bringing to the table that would change the way humans experience government, economy, structure, all of this, right? Like the systems that we have in place that have been helpful to some period of people at some point, and we're now discovering are not helpful. Like to think about and imagine different there is so challenging and like threatening, and I'm so thankful to be there. And Jesus is still incredibly relevant to that conversation, and we still need what he was poking at all that time ago. Like, what is this kingdom he's talking about?
Yeah. Saying, like, I am more, like when people ask me, like, are you going to hell? You know, those kind of questions.
You know they ask you that.
It's usually telling me.
Right.
But if I ask, like, are you, like, where are you? Do you really believe in Jesus? Like, my response is, I am more compelled, fascinated, in love with the person of Jesus than I ever was in my conservative days, because I see someone who actually is standing up for people and things that matter, and is not just creating sort of a afterlife racket that I got caught up in for a very long time.
Same.
So let me one last question, and it's a softball. You don't have to worry about it. It can be very easy if you watch the news, if you get on social media. It can be very easy and justified to feel a bit of despair about the world right now, where it's at, how it's going. And you seem to me, in my experiencing and knowing you, there is a joy and a hopefulness in you. I imagine that's why it's why I keep showing up for the work, right? Because there's something in me that goes, no. We're not going to let that become the narrative. We're going to push back on it. What is giving you hope right now?
Yeah, I do feel very hopeful. I do feel like a joyful person. When I was coming out, that wasn't the case. I did not feel very joyful. There was a lot of crying, a little bit depressed. It was awful. But on the other side of getting to wake up to my own fullness and my humanity, and who God is to me and what I've experienced with them, like the hope, I think the deepest place I understand that this hope is coming from is that divine love is real. Like, it's not just an idea that we made up to make us feel better. Like, I am convinced that love exists objectively, apart, like outside of any of our constructs or ideas, is underneath all this. And like I said earlier, like that love transforms us. It gives us a chance at a new life every morning. Like, that's literally available to us, and it still like blows my mind. And so like with a lot of the hate and crazy that I get, you know, from typically Christians, the irony, like the more I experience it, and like patterns start to emerge. It's boring. They have nothing new. There's nothing creative or inventive or imaginative about what they're saying. It's all boring, like brainwashing, regurgitated purging. It's boring and sad and pathetic and gross. It's so lame. And I just see it all the time. There's nothing, I'm like, oh, okay. And from that, all I hear at this point now, unless I'm having a bad day, all I hear at this point is like that these people are wounded. They are hurting, and they are just like projecting what they can't reconcile in themselves, what they can't look at in themselves, what they can't be honest about, what they can't accept, what they're still fighting against. And the thing that I don't want to say out loud, but I am compelled by, is that this love that's available to us has the power to heal them, to like set them free from themselves, from their hatred, from their indoctrination, from their bigotry. And like some of us don't want those people to be like liberated. We don't want them to be redeemed. We want them to go to the place they keep telling us we're going to. Like, you go there. You belong there, right? And I get that, but I can't settle there, because this love that I have been, I would dare say, called by, inspired by, arrested by, is also on fire for them. It sucks. But it's true. And so it's like, the hope I have is like, do we have, any of us, do we have the courage and the willingness to be loved like God loves us? Because if we do, if we were to say yes to love to the degree that it is poured out to us, it would change the way we experience them, how we receive them, respond to them. And I don't respond to them great all the time, but it'll save them. And that's tough. But it's real. I know that it has to, because it saved me, you know? And I don't even like using that word, but it feels like a rescuing and a liberation and a waking up. and it's available to all of us, and so they can be as assholey as they want to be, and love is still on for them.
Ooh. So, when somebody asks you if you heard the gospel at church today, that was it. That is gospel. That is actual good news. So, Mike, will you come and preach one Sunday?
I would love to preach.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right.
Thank you.
You are a beautiful human being.
Thank you.
You're doing
So
amazing work, and we are grateful for your friendship and all that you're doing in the world.
Thank
Mike,
you.
nice to hear everybody.
Thank you.
Yes. Amen. That was good. That was good. We've got one more incredibly special guest with us today. You're going to love this. So, a friend of Gracepointe. He is an artist. He goes by Wynn Starks. He tells his friends to call him Wayne. But he's with us this morning. He was actually a couple of years ago, maybe last year even, on the show America's Got Talent. Everybody watch that? Yeah. So he has a beautiful story. Honestly, I've heard him sing. And then when I heard this song and him sing this on national television, I was weeping in my living room, literally. I remember. But he's with us today, and he's going to share a little bit about his story, and he's going to sing this beautiful song. Will you welcome Mr. Wynn Starks? Yeah. Come sing for us.
Hi, family. How are you today? So good to be back here. That was an incredible message. Thank you, Mike and Pastor Josh. I remember, being a kid, and the news was coming to our school, and they picked some students that they were going to interview, and I was one of the students that they picked, and I was so nervous because I had a speech impediment and a high voice I always got made fun of for, and I was just like not having it, but I knew that I wanted to do it, though. There was something inside of me that mustered up the courage to do it. But I remember watching that. They played it for the class, this interview, and I remember back then just being so hard on myself watching that video. I was just so embarrassed, and I was just so hard on myself. And a few years ago, I reconnected with my principal, and she sent me that video, and I watched it, and I was like, oh my God, he's so cute. How could anybody ever be mean to him? And, I locked him away for a long time, I did. And I locked him in this cage, and I became, what Mike was talking about, this beautiful little queer boy, and I locked him away and was trying to be what everybody else wanted me to be. And I finally let him out, and he's flying, y'all. And so it was just, really amazing to be able to share this song, on a platform like that. And I'm a twin, and I lost my twin brother a few years ago, and it was the hardest thing I've ever been through. And, I thank you, Pastor Josh. He was really super supportive during that time and gave me some great resources with therapy, and that really saved me, And so I really appreciate you, Pastor Josh, and Gracepointe. You guys are amazing. And so this song, my twin brother, he got to hear it, and it was one of his favorite songs. I released this EP entitled Who I Am, and it was one of his favorite songs on there. And I just know it was because it was it's a story. It's my story. It's my of coming out and coming into me and to the artist and person I am, and it resonated. And what's so beautiful about that experience, I got to connect with so many people who experience loss, and even people who are on that journey of self-discovery, becoming the best version of themselves. And it was healing for me, And so I'm so glad to be able to sing this for y'all. And I dedicate it to my twin brother, but I also dedicate it to y'all who are on that journey too, you know, of finding yourselves, of becoming the best version of yourself. So here it is, it's called Who I Am.
I've been closing the door all my life, held it in but not anymore. Got 2 feet on the floor. This is it, I'm stronger than ever before. Pardon my imposition, but this is my conviction. I need to get this off my mind. I gotta be me, gotta be I, gotta be who I know I am inside. Can finally breathe, taking it in, look at me flying. It's always been there, it just took me a minute to find it. If I were to be anybody else, I'd just be hiding who I am, who I am. Looking back on a little boy, never gave him a chance to ever be more. I didn't love him, but I'm gonna love him right now and forever. It's time to push open the door. Pardon my imposition, but this is my conviction. Ain't nothing left to hold me down. No, gotta be me, gotta be I, gotta be who I know I am inside. Can finally breathe, taking it in, look at me flying. It's always been there, it just took me a minute to find it. If I were to be anybody else, I'd just be hiding. I am who I am. It's always been there, it just took me a minute to find it. Who I am. Oh. Gotta be me, gotta be I, gotta be who I know I am inside. Can finally breathe, taking it in, look at me flying. It's always been there, it just took me a minute to find it. If I were to be anybody else, I'd just be hiding. I am who I am. It's always been there, it just took me a minute to find it. I am. Oh. Thank you. I love you.
There's nothing else that we need to say. Can we hear it for Derek, Mike, Wynn over here? Thank you. Gracepointe, we're so glad that you were with us today. We've got some chairs that we want to put up, but we love you. We're proud of you. We'll see you next week. Thank you.